Hello everybody, Mike with Spray Jones. Let's go back to doing an old school video. Here is a pool that we sprayed last year, 2025. This is how it looks, and I'm going to tell you how we got to this stage and how it matters. So here's the site. It's dug out. They've got rock for the floor. I'll show you how the pool is constructed. I talked with the builder quite a bit about this. He wanted to make sure that it was insulated well. We're going to use it early in the season, late in the season, wanted to take extra steps, and that meant spray foam. So this kit is bolted in, it's galvanized. The panels are all 5 feet, but they've sloped the interior from 3 feet to 5 feet of depth at the deep end. The stairs are the shallow end. So what they do is the kit all bolts together, it's galvanized, and then the big thing that holds it all in place is the concrete, and that's what they're doing here today. They're pouring the concrete, and I wanted to be on site to see exactly how this was all being done. I wanted to make sure that everything was going to be good, so that when we came to spray, we knew exactly where to be, where to start, where to stop. So what we're going to do is we're going to prime out the ring. It's galvanized. I'm going to use a speed primer. You know, Sherwin-Williams has one, but you need just something that's going to cut into the galvanizing. I think it's cheap insurance, $800-900. Why not do it? Because spray foam will adhere to the galvanizing, but if there's anything going to go wrong, a speed primer ends that discussion, chemically burns into the zinc, and then you get really, really good adhesion with the spray foam. So these guys are pouring out all the concrete around the perimeter. Took them a whole day. We left it the rest of the week. This is being poured on like whatever, a Wednesday or something like that. I don't remember exactly the day. And we left it till the following week, Tuesday. But it was also when the wind interval, the weather changed for the better. The builder wanted me to get in right away. He didn't want to wait. He wanted to backfill as soon as possible. I said, listen, it's going to be really windy for the next 2 days. I don't want to paint this guy's house. I don't want to paint the fence, anything else that shouldn't be done. So let's just wait till the following week when it's going to be like low winds, like under 20 kilometers an hour. So here we are now going to be moving on to site. I'm not going to bore you with priming, but we've already put the speed primer on. The speed primer takes like 1 hour to set up. Like it's 1,000 of an inch. It's very, very thin, as you can see. My guy's fighting with the gun a little bit here. It's early morning. It's a little bit cool outside, even though this is June. It's got a little bit of a cold pattern. Well, I really like the Pro X Accurate Dynamics stuff that we've got now. We didn't have it at this time. This is a year. Now it's just fast hose heat, fast heating, really easy to get things dialed in, really good pattern, really good results. Got a fresh, crisp chamber in the gun. You can really, really set that system up to run more advanced than what the old-fashioned R1, R2s are doing. So we're just going around 2 inches onto the wall, and this is going to give them excellent ability to keep the heat inside the pool. And then we're also going to do the floor. So I've got things primed out. And I do believe in using the primers. I really do. A lot of people would say, just skip it. I'm like, why? It's galvanized. You know it's going to be finicky for adhesion. I don't want pieces popping off. Even though this is being backfilled with rock, you'll never see it. It'll push up against it. I don't see why we need to take a chance and just have an adhesion issue. And you can see it's laying down pretty smooth, pretty nice here. He's getting pretty good results. He's dialed in better on this side. Now that corner is where all of it bolts together. You're going to see how he deals with the corner here in a second. He's just going to lay a piece of cardboard on it right here because he's got an infinity edge. Now you guys can use this technique when you're spraying all sorts of open edges. You can put a board with plastic on it or tape on it. He's just going to hold it in this situation, hold it in place, allow the foam to stop up against the board. Then we just go back around, knock those pieces of cardboard off, and give them a little bit of a trim if they bulge out. But it's pretty standard practice. You want to get a high dimensional stability spray foam. Like, do not cheap out. I cannot believe how many problems people are having with mid-grade foams they thought they were okay. This is Wall-Tite by BSF in Canada. That's why it's dyed the purple. It's CCMC certified foam, but it's got one of the highest dimensional stabilities. There's only two spray foams in Canada that have the best dimensional stability, and that's BSF and Suprema Systems. And they don't move around. There's not a lot of fluctuation post-install. Now, that's provided you get right ratio, on ratio, but important is your mix. Mix and ratio are interconnected. They're opposite ends of the stick. And that's why I really like using the Pro X systems now with Accurate that we have in our rigs, because we can absolutely see that we were dead on, balls, nuts, accurate for ratio and mix the entire time. So it gives me huge peace of mind. In this situation, we're spraying this with our R1 E30. It's a good machine, sprayed foam fine. There's no problems with this job, but I like the peace of mind that I get with the new gear. And you can really dial the pattern in. We've been watching the two proportioners that we've got. The R1 doesn't have, and then the Pro X, and the Pro X is whooping the pants off the old R1 on just consistent pattern quality and how it works. So we're going to spray this all out. He's going to go 360 degrees around. Only took him a little bit of time. And then he's going to switch to spraying the footings. Footings are really, really good, easy to spray, 2 inches down. I told them, look, just spray 2 feet around the perimeter. We don't need to go out 4 or 5 feet. Then we're not going to spray 100% of the concrete. The reason being is that I felt like, hey, it is a seasonal pool. We're not using it in the wintertime. If this was year-round basement or something like that and was going to need to go all through the winter, of course we'd spray all the concrete, all right? But this is just trying to enhance what the owners are going to get out of the system. So a 2-foot band around the perimeter down onto that footing, I think is sufficient. You know, get the thing done in one day, put 2 inches down. Now the spray foam can handle this, the rock, the unevenness. This one here is fairly wide open, but you're going to see when we get around the corner here, it's going to be lumpy, bumpy. There's going to be some rock that fell into the trench. I told them, don't even worry about it. Just the pieces that are there, spray over top and encapsulate everything, and away we go. Because we're not actually, again, trying to get this done to such a degree that, like, I would normally dig that out if that was going to be footings for a new commercial building, being that this is going to be on the pool, and the pool is operating from seasonally in the spring till the fall. They're not going through the winter season. I'm not as worried about it, because we're just enhancing what's already there. That hole in the siding there that you see, that's where the return lines are going. This actual machine, I've actually got the analyst on it now, which is from Accurate Dynamics. It monitors ratio. It doesn't control it, but it monitors it. It monitors hose heat, monitors pressure. So we've actually got all of this hose freshened up with a brand new scuff jacket, because we had to run all the wires and all of the sensors underneath it, and we converted it over. So we actually pulled that scuff off, and we rewrapped the hose with additional insulation the first 100 feet, and then ran the sensors out. So we got sensors from 10 feet at the whip, like where the whip 50 connection is, all the way back to the machine. And then there's a reporting box, an analyst box there that tells us how the machine's doing. Okay, now we've got the floor of this thing. Now, these stairs are not a normal option. The homeowner opted for these. They're full width, paid quite a bit of money to get this. But the builder said to me, look, spray everything in, lock it all in, all these cross supports. He didn't want them twisting, didn't want them moving. So we're not worried about how thick the foam is here, like as far as too thick or too thin. We're just building the foam up, because what's going to happen is all these stairs are going to get filled in with rock, crushed rock, and then they leave down on the top of the stairs shallow by about 2 inches, and then the concrete fills in. So they're just using the rock as void form, right, to fill up the space. But we wanted all of this insulated, and he wanted all of those cross supports locked in solid. And he said, just build them right up, like spray right onto them, underneath them, build it all around, so the foam will lock it in. When you get a builder that understands what foam can give them and how it'll work, they'll start requesting, do this, do that, I need this, I need that, this will solve some big problems for me. And I'll talk when we get into the floor section of the pool. He discovered something on using less gypcrete on folding in the corners and the edges. So my guy's a little bit nervous. He's realizes that when he converts to the floor that he's standing on here, he's got to be dialed in. He's got to have a good pattern. Can't be leaving it lumpy and bumpy, because everybody's going to be yelling at him, because they got to put a gypcrete liner, which is a mixture of like a cement and a vermiculite. It's called poolcrete, and they mix it in a small batch cement mixer, on site, and then dump it out in 5-gallon pails, and then they hand trowel it. Hand trowel it. When it's done, the concrete actually has some give to it. All right, so he's locked in there. Now we're going to be working on the rest of this floor. 16 by 32. It's a little over 500 square feet. So this is where we're doing the flash coat. Now the flash coat is something you got to be super careful with, folks. Flashing on cold surfaces can put latent cells that haven't converted all of the blowing agent into proper cell structure. But this is a June day. It's 75, 76, 78 degrees out. And what he's doing is he's flashing it just to lock the rock in, stop it from moving, put a little bit of a sealant over top of the rock so that any ground moisture that does happen to be inside the rock isn't instantly going to react with a thick pass of foam, react with the isocyanate, form carbon dioxide, and then start blowing bubbles and blowing humps and bumps in the foam. So we're sealing it, wait until it goes tack free, then he's coming back to the areas that he did first. Now you see around behind him, behind his legs there, you see how there's that gap between the galvanizing. The builder asked me to fill more of that in. Normally he fills that gap in with the poolcrete, and he discovered something. He said, dang, the spray foam is so good. Here's what I want to do. I want you to come back, spray a little bit more in there, and I'll shave it back, whatever is excess. And I don't need to use hardly any poolcrete. It's going to save me on poolcrete big time, and time, like massive amounts of time. So we're like, yeah, sure, absolutely. So this is, he's shooting for an inch. We had an absolute maximum. He told me absolutely nothing over 1.5 inches. Preferred that you be closer to 1 inch than 1.5 inches, because he just did not have the elevations to come up higher. Now the foam's going to be shaved. We use the RRC tool shaver. We gave it to him and just said, here, keep it for a day or two, return it to us when you're done. Come in, shave the foam around. It does not change the properties of closed cell spray foam. Like the skin is good, but it's not necessary for it to be a good product as far as what we need it to do underneath this poolcrete. So he's flashing it. If you flash like this on steel on a cold day in the fall or in the spring, when warmth hits the steel, it can finish the polymerization of the polyols and the blowing agent, and you'll get post-growth on the foam, and that's where your panels will have gone from smooth to warped. And so I'm really cautious about anybody doing flash passes on steel in cold weather climate. Now in this situation, he's given it long enough. It's tack free. It's nice and warm, and he's doing this just to lower the chances and the percentages that there's going to be any moisture, because it had rained on and off. They had dried this out. I think we got down into the deep end. You can see it's a lot darker down there. Those were the two areas that we encountered where the foam did not want to lay down smooth. So he's going to spray this out. He's a little stressy. He wants to make sure that he doesn't get yelled at and spray 560 square feet. But closed cell spray foam, he doesn't want to spray all of this and then get yelled at that it's not smooth enough and that they're going to have to go back and shave it or something. But can the closed cell spray foam handle it? Handle the weight? You bet. It handles 29 PSI. There's 144 square inches in a square foot. 144 times 29 is just over 4,100 pounds per square foot. So 2 tons to give you this. 2 tons of downward force. So the spray foam can handle it. There's no reason not to do it. Now you got the sides insulated, you got the floor insulated. They put the poolcrete in, put the liner in, and then put the water in. So this is the modern way to get pools done in cold weather climates. If you got any questions whatsoever, send me a comment. Share, like, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next video.